Gillian Keegan with a 5-minute limit.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. It's a pleasure to follow the Honourable Member for Stretford and Ormston, and I'd like to congratulate her on her new role as Chair. Having served as a Member of Parliament for only a year and a half, I did wonder if it was appropriate to speak in this debate. I personally haven't witnessed many of the things that are contained in the report. However, I do have prior experience of managing thousands of people from different backgrounds and different cultures in large companies for over 27 years, so may be able to provide some useful insights in terms of industry best practice, and I would completely agree with the comments made by my honourable friend from Shipley. There's many industry companies which have gone through this culture change, and we can learn a lot. However, as a new MP, I can safely say that Parliament is very different from any workplace that I have ever seen, and it does have a very distinct culture. Parliament is effectively a common workplace for what is in reality 650 separate small businesses, each with their own leadership and teams. This is unusual and is probably one of the reasons why this issue has not been effectively tackled earlier, as there is no real central control and there certainly is no central HR support. The reputation of Parliament is, of course, vitally important because we have the responsibility to pass legislation, not least employment law itself. Dame Laura Cox's report shows us beyond all doubt that our present approach is not working, it's letting staff down, and we need to change. So what does good look like in the workplace and how can we achieve it? Based on my experience and also valuable insights I have received from professional organisations like the Chartered Institute for Personnel Development, it seems to me that we need to approach our Get Well strategy under two headings. Prevent bullying and harassment from happening in the first place, and secondly, deal with it decisively when it does. Our prevention approach needs to start at the top, and by that I mean all of us elected representatives, as well as senior managers in the House of Commons administration. We need to show we are serious about tackling this issue, and that means we, Members of Parliament, should lead by example and personally demonstrate the right behaviours and attend training programmes and awareness-raising events. Best practice would include monitoring attendance at these events and even publishing the list of those MPs who are and are not attending the events or, as happens in the workplace, completing online educational work modules. This is usual practice in other industries and is important. If we conduct ourselves in this way, we can start to shift the culture away from where it is now towards a more inclusive, diverse and respectful workplace. Turning to the subject of what to do when it is alleged that bullying or harassment may have taken place. Here again, we should follow best practice with a simple, well understood, consistent, confidential, independent and above all fast escalation process. There are some existing policies in the area, but the Cox Report clearly states that these are not simple, they are overly complex and they do not enjoy the confidence of our colleagues working in Parliament. In order to cleanse the system, we need to show that we take the issue seriously with full transparency, taking action when it is required. And we must be seen to do this.
My honourable friend, give way.
I will happily give way.
Thank my honourable friend for giving way. Given your extensive experience in business, what does she think the House should do with regards to historic allegations? What lessons can be learnt from the private sector in that school?
I actually had this conversation, thank you. I had this conversation with somebody in the Chartered Institute of Personnel Development and asked what they do in business. And he basically said for those that sexual harassment, there's no time limit at all. Those that are bullying or harassment, they do impose some kind of time limits, and that's because cultures and expectations have changed over time in terms of behaviour. I'm not suggesting that, but that's what somebody advised me in the Chartered Institute of Personnel Development. And I think it is something that we could look at what industries do, because everybody's facing the same issue. Most people have already faced it. Certainly.
The most basic thing that every serious company does is make sure that there's a proper HR function that provides support whenever you need it. And actually, a lot of members come into the House. Some may have employed hundreds of people in their life. Some may have come in here never having employed another person ever. And actually, they're desperate for more support. Don't we need to put far more energy into that if we're to prevent these problems?
Completely agree. It is unfair to expect this simple, well-understood, consistent, fair process if we haven't trained people on the other side as to what is that expectation. It's certainly in business you would be given induction training on what the standards are, and then you would have training and actual top-up training every year, and you would get publicised whether you'd actually done your top-up training or not. In conclusion, Dame Laura Cox's report runs to 155 pages, and I agree with all of the points that are made in it. The answer, however, is perhaps simpler than the length of the report suggests. This is about prevention and cure, and it is about being seen to take action. It is about each and every one of us demonstrating the correct behaviours and showing by example our commitment to make this great institution a modern, respectful and inclusive workplace fit for the 21st century. It is not about trying to scapegoat individuals or even outsource the solution to a committee or indulging in trial by media. In fact, I would go so far to say is if we do try to suggest others are responsible for our collective failings, then we will certainly demonstrate that we have not at all grasped the systemic nature of the problem that we face. And let's remember, it's a system we are all collectively responsible for, and a system we must work together to improve, even though, as the report is keen to point out, the vast majority of MPs are courteous and entirely respectful of staff. Our reputations sink or swim together. If each and every one of us takes steps to implement Dame Laura's report and we report on progress at regular intervals, we will begin the journey to better support our staff and to recover our reputation, which goes to the very heart of the credibility in this place. Thank you.